right, welcome back. We are now entering into our final session of the day here at the Economic Times CMO Tech Summit. Now, very quickly to what is up next. The art of being a truly customer centric brand. And joining us with more insight on this is Richa Goswami, Chief Customer and Marketing Officer, Hsbc Wealth and Personal Banking.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's such a privilege and a genuine honor to be here to be speaking to all of you today. My name is Richa Goswami. I'm the Global Chief Customer and Marketing Officer at HSBC. I just wanted to take, 30 seconds just to give a bit of a backdrop to my own journey and why talking about the art of creating a customer-centric brand is something which is so close to my heart, and I think reflective of the career choices I've made. So I think of my career in three big boxes. Honestly, one has been in fintech, which is with banks, which are Standard Chartered and HSBC. And then it has been with being a startup founder. I founded my own startup in the health and wellness space, so it's been a startup. And the third box has been in FMCG. So prior to joining HSBC, my last role was the Global Chief Digital Officer for Johnson & Johnson. So, customer obsession is a word that I think we all talk about. It's nothing new. It's been around for over 20 years. And, I was reading this interesting article from the Global CMO Council that said that whilst it's been around for so long, only 14% of companies could honestly, hand on heart say we are customer centric. And if you asked our customers, only 11% of them would actually agree that companies do a great job about being customer centric. So I guess the question then is, why is it, right? So, we know it is something we should be doing, but what is it that's stopping companies today from being customer centric? And when I think about it, I think of the three V's. And it's just the volume, the velocity, and the variety of data that's coming at you at an unprecedented pace, and which makes it really difficult for a lot of us to then take that data, make sense of it, and then have a ability to be able to translate that into experiences that truly are frictionless and delight our customers. Now, you can always say, well, there's a lot of tech stack that can enable you to do that. There are a lot of partners that can enable you to do that. And yes to all of those. But, the other way some people say is, well, you should have a strategy around customer obsession and how we should go out and be the best customer-centric brand in the world. And my comment to them is, strategy, culture eats strategy for breakfast. So it's great to have a strategy, but if you do not have a customer-centric and a customer-obsessed culture, you've got no hope in hell in winning. So when I then think about culture, what are the ingredients? And here, I will talk a lot about what it is that we do to build a brand which I believe has all the ambitions of being customer-centric, and it's a journey. We're 1% done. I won't say we're there. So the first thing when I think about culture, it starts with the structure that you have in an organization. Now, in a lot of organizations, you might have a separate team or a function that does marketing. You might have a separate team and a function that looks after design. You might have a separate team that looks after customer experiences, and then a different team that looks after your propositions and your segments. And then not even, let me not forget sustainability and inclusion, which might be, hopefully, you all are doing that, but might be another area. What HSBC has done differently is created the office of the Chief Customer and Marketing Officer, which is my team. So the way we're structured is that we've actually brought together design and customer experience and sustainability and inclusion and our brands and segments all together with marketing. So we truly look at it in a very infused and immersive manner, which I think makes all the difference. Because when I look around my pizza box of talent and I look around the conversations that we are having around the pizza box, right? All of us in a room, it's very different because you would not know who comes from where, because we're all there having a conversation with a great deal of passion in service of the customer. And I think that is something which, if you can, in your organization, might be worth exploring. So the first thing was really how we set ourselves up organizationally. Now, because we had brought everyone together, it made it a lot more easier to then go out and do the couple of steps that I think are critical. And the first is customer empathy. Now, it's a word that's used a lot, and you can have a bit of eye roll, and you can say, "Yep, we've all got a lot of empathy." But do we really? As when I think about our culture, one of the challenges I had was a lot of people spoke about the customer, but when was the last time you actually met a customer or spent time with the customer or listened to a customer? And so what we do, for example, is we've got this really simple thing called customer in the room. So it's really the ability to be able to pick up the phone, which I do weekly, and I listen to recorded complaints. And it's just not me, because I have the privilege of customer in my title, but it is all the way from our most senior leaders all the way to junior leadership. And everyone has to know what is it that is causing friction and a pain in your customer's life, right? So when you then design experiences, you know that it is solving a pain point, because sometimes we get really caught up in thinking, oh, this is a great idea, let me go ahead and do it. And we just assume that because we will build, they will come to buy. And then they don't, and then we're like, oh my God, what just happened here? So it really needs to begin with that empathy of walking in our customer's shoes and understanding what is their journey, what is their human truth, what is it that they're trying to solve, and where do you then as a brand show up with the right to play and the right to win. So we do a lot in terms of getting together different streams of customer data, right? You can get it from your branches, we can get it from our relationship managers, I can get it from our call centers, I can get it from the complaints we're getting in, I can get data from the way people are interacting with my mobile device, with our mobile apps or with our websites. So it's how do you then bring together a confluence of data, create those data lakes, and then be able to extract insights that are human-centered and actionable. So the second thing after empathy is how do you democratize customer insights? Because I don't know about you guys, but many a times I've found through prior organizations, and even something I'm trying to change here, is that there's a lot of customer insight. It just sits in PDFs and PowerPoints in different people's inbox. And that person, knows a lot about the customer, and they share, and then they leave the organization, or for whatever reason, that insight, right, is not widespread. Until all of us don't really breathe and understand what that insight is, it is really hard to be able to create something that is compelling and connects. So the second thing, so what we've looked to do is bringing in, and I call them the hashtag twinning, is customer insights people and our data people, and they're the twins, right? So they need to come together, and I use the word customer intelligence a lot versus insights, because what's the use of insights if it's not intelligent and then actionable? So the second thing around building a customer-centric brand starts with how do you look at your customer insights, and then what do you do with that? And that's where the design component becomes so critical. So we at Hsbc have tied up with Stanford, and we have, design thinking. It's an industry norm, and we train our people. So all our people, including myself, have gone through that way of thinking. So when I think through the experiences we want to create, we go through that from a very from a design thinking standpoint. And I think that is really important, because you suddenly build a language that the entire organization is comfortable around and can become practitioners of. And the last thing I think for us, so you say you've got the empathy, you've got the insights, now you got to create the experience, right? Sounds really simple, but for us, there is a framework on how we do that. And I used to always ask this question that, we talk a lot about the customer, but are we putting our dollars behind what is our customer's pain point? Are we putting our dollars behind what is it that we need to build that future proofs us, or where, for example, there is a need which is an unmet difficult because there are different teams and different budgets and everyone's doing the right thing with the right intent but not in service of the customer. We are also sometimes many organizations very product led. So whilst we talk to about the customer, it's not how we really think about things. So one of the ways that we look at our change budgets is how do you put the money behind journeys? Now, rather than saying I'm selling a mortgage, I say let's think I'm buying a home. Now, when I'm buying a home, it's just not about the rate that you give me. It's a really emotional process, right? Thinking about it, where you see yourself living, who do you see yourself living with, how do you see yourself living in there? And that would open up a whole ecosystem of partnerships, which is outside of maybe banking. So we've moved towards not product-led, but more journey-led. And when I think of journeys, I think of two kinds of journeys, right? You've got the fix-it journeys, which is you've got to fix what's broken. We all have experiences which are broken. So you cannot build a customer-centric brand without getting your basics right every time. And I'm just not saying a few markets do it well, but every time and in a manner that can be scaled. So there's a big focus for us on how do you build and how do you fix journeys which are broken. That's the first bucket, right? The second bucket for me are build it or strategic journeys. These are journeys where I believe, knowing what my customers are telling me, there's an unmet need, or there might be an instance where I'm looking externally, I'm seeing where the trends are going, I know what's changing, and we get in there to build something which would resonate with our customers. So I think it's very important from a customer experience standpoint to think with the journey lens, not a product lens, right? The second thing is, okay, now you've done end-to-end journeys. How do you measure it? And that's where NPS becomes so critical for us as a measurement tool. So whether that's the strategic NPS, whether that's journey NPS, that is really, really important, because if you don't measure something, it will not get done. And how do you build a customer-centric brand that you can't measure? Because you can, drink your own Kool-Aid and think you're doing awesome, but maybe to your customers, you're far from that. So we are very, very diligent about the measurement of how do we ensure we're customer-centric. Now, JNPS is just one of those. I, tend to spend a bit of time looking at even customer efforts scores. So I keep telling my mobile app folks, like, how long does it take to open an account? How many taps or how many clicks does it take? So I think it's really, really important to be super obsessed with the different metrics, whether that's turnaround time, that's complaints, that's JNPS, that's customer effort score. But I guess you get my point, right? It'll just make sure that you are measuring what you're building. Now you'll say, great, Richa, we've set up the organization, we've got the empathy, we've got the insights, we've got a model for customer experience, and we are measuring it. What else do you think is important? And I think one of the things that I've learned through my own life as a marketeer is the 2 Ps. And I talk to that a lot within the organization and even when I was at J&J. And that's around personalization and purpose. And, on one hand, you would think that they might be two opposite ends of the spectrum, right? Because personalization is all about data. We all talk about, the segment of one. That's where we're moving towards, right? It's no longer about one size fits all. It's all about one size fits one. And the beauty is that data enables you to create these hyper-personalized experiences. It allows you to connect with your customer in a manner that is relevant, in a manner when they want it, where they want it, how they want to consume it. And all of that is data-led. So you think of personalization, I think more head, right? So, and then I think of purpose. And purpose, I know a lot of people can go, oh, that's really wishy-washy, but I think that's where the heart comes in. And I don't think you can create a customer-centric brand which does not have a beautiful mix of having personalization and having purpose. So let me give a quick example of each and go from there. So the first is around purpose. So HSBC has a purpose, which is to open up, which is opening up a world of opportunity. And I want to talk about Birmingham, far away from India, which is where we have our headquarters of the UK bank. And the story starts with a girl that used to walk to work. And every day she walked to work, she saw a lot of homeless people bundled up in bus stops, between, on the streets, in between the entrances of shops. And I personally have been to Birmingham and I've seen this up front. And you can walk away with a shrug and say, so what do I do about it? But we did something about it. And what we did is we tied up with Shelter, which is the biggest charity in the UK. And we said, let's use data to start identifying the 5 key places in Birmingham where we see the most amount of homelessness. And the reason people are homeless is because they don't have an address. They don't have an address, so they can't get the benefits to get mailed to that address, which then puts them back on track. And you can never break the shackles of financial exclusion, So we use data to personalize and understand where we saw homelessness. We tied up with the Shelter, and people could then use the address of Shelter to then come into our bank and open an account. And we also, of course, took care of them when they came in and gave them a shower and a meal. But it was our way of bringing them back into mainstream. And, we did all the stuff that I've spoken in the past, in my previous section, and I still didn't see the SNPS score of HSBC in the top 3. But by doing something that was purpose-led, it completely changed the trajectory of how the brand was perceived. And it was done with the right intent, because how do you stand up to be a company that opens up a world of opportunity without doing something for the people that matter in your own home, right? So that's just one example. Another one I'd love to talk to, it's very, very close to my heart, was when I was at J&J and its free period. So J&J has a leading sanitary brand called feminine care called Stay Free. And we had an insight that whilst most women in India, only 12% of women in India used feminine hygiene products. And most women complained when they had their periods. But the only women that looked forward to their periods were the sex workers. And because those 3 days, they got a breather. Those 3 days, they got to be a mom or a daughter or a sister or a lover, right? And now when I talk about sex traffic workers, maybe a lot of you have seen Gangubai, which I think was an awesome movie, by the way. And it's a lot more mainstream as a topic. But way back when we did this, everyone said, Richa, why would you go down a path which might not be in keeping with where we are as what the brand is? And I said, it's about the purpose. The purpose was to change the trajectory of health for humanity. And we ended up doing work with the sex workers. So 3 days of them getting a break was 3 days of learning. I shared this, and the campaigns of HSBC and J&J, you can look it up. We've gone on to win multiple cons. But the reason I share this to all of you as marketeers in the room is think of your purpose. Think of your brand, think of your purpose, think of your why. And that, I think, is very important to your customers who want you to be authentic as you look to build a customer-centric brand. And on the personalization side, and I know I'm coming to time, so I'll make this really quick, is I think of the metaverse. And the metaverse is the future. It is an area which is new for a lot of us. And HSBC, was looked at its customers. We've got a lot of millennials. We've got a younger, emerging, affluent segment that are gamers. And we said, okay, how do you personalize an experience which is different to something we've ever done? So we've gone ahead, and you may have heard about it, and done a deal with One Esports. And this is where we are looking to pilot programs, and we'll target the multiplayer online battle arena genre of esports. It's targeting a new diverse audience, but we're learning about this new space, and we're learning that we need to have a bit of courage and a bit of curiosity to see how things are changing, how people want a different experience to the ones that they've had in the past. And all the data that we do end up collecting allows us to speak to our customers differently. So I hope this has been useful. I look forward to maybe next year we have this in person and I get to come back home to India, which is always such a pleasure. So thank you so much for having me. If there are any questions, you can always email me. I'm at richa.goswami@hsbc.com. Thank you so much.
Thank you so very much, Richa Goswami, for that very insightful. The art of being a truly customer-centric brand. And with those thoughts, I'm sure we will develop our way towards becoming one very soon. Well, what an interesting day it's been this morning till afternoon, and I'm sure you have learned so much and much more. You also did go visit all our partners' booth and learned everything about it. My name is Mithun Upadhyay. I want to thank you all for joining us here. But before I sign off, I quickly want to thank you all for being a part of the Economic Times CEO Tech Strategy Summit 2022. Without you, it wouldn't have been possible. A quick thank you to our partners who have made it all happen for us. Presenting partner InMobi and Microsoft, augmented reality partner Snapchat, retention platform partner WebEngage, growth partner Apps Flyer, knowledge partner the ET Edge Insights, and media partner CIO Review India. As I leave, I'll let you with one thought: keep the creativity on and proceed ahead, because the market is open for all. As a sign off, also, we're going to have the partners AV. Thank you so much for joining us. And if you're on LinkedIn, do